In the heart of Africa, there's a village named Endoro. This place was once full of laughter and the sounds of children playing. But lately, things had been tough. The river that gave them water was nearly dry, and the fields were turning brown without rain. One day, something amazing happened in Endoro. A baby boy named Kito was born, but he wasn't like any other child. He had 2 beautiful wings. Everyone in the village gathered to see him. "This child is blessed," said the village's wise, looking at Kito's wings. "He will bring good fortune to our village." Kito's parents, Amma and Jabari, were proud and a bit scared. They didn't know how to raise a child with wings, but they loved him just the way he was. The next day, clouds gathered and it rained for the first time in months. The river filled up, the crops grew back, and the animals in the village had plenty to eat. Everyone was happy and danced in the rain, thanking Kito for the miracle. Kito's life had always been extraordinary. Although Kito's parents, Jabari and Amma, considered this a sacred gift, it was not so easy for Kito. Kito didn't get along well with his peers. When he wanted to play with the children in the village, they excluded him. They could not accept his difference and sometimes even feared it. This made Kito feel isolated and alone. One day, Kito was playing outside. Another kid came up to him and said, "If you can't fly, why do you even have wings? Give them to me," and started pulling hard on his wings. Kito shouted, "Stop it, they're mine." Then a fight broke out between them. As the fight grew louder and louder, noises started coming from all over the village. Then Jabari and Amma came out of their tent. They found their son and the other children in the middle of the crowd. Kito was filled with rage, his eyes filled with tears. He shouted to the village, "These wings are mine!" And he began to flap his wings. Suddenly, he began to rise slightly. Kito's parents watched this moment with amazement and pride. They couldn't believe their eyes. Jabari said, "Amma, look! Our son is flying!" Kito glanced at his parents, a proud smile spreading across his face. For the first time, he saw his difference not as a drawback, but as something unique. From that day on, Kito's fame spread beyond Endoro to the surrounding villages and eventually reached the ears of 3 bandits who lived in the forest. These 3 men were full of evil and greed and hid in the darkest corners of the region. When they heard Kito's story, they came together with greed shining in their eyes. "This boy is a fortune for us," Makalo said with a cold smile. "We will kidnap him and sell him to a merchant for a good price." The other 2 nodded, and they began to plan. That night, the 3 bandits set out for Endoro, determined to find Kito and use him to their advantage. The people of the village fell into a deep sleep after the exhaustion of the day. They slowly entered Kito's room and there, bathed in the moonlight, they saw the sleeping boy with wings. The bandits were astonished. It was the first time they had ever seen a human being with wings. One of the bandits, not watching his step, accidentally knocked over a bowl. The noise broke the silence of the night. Kito's father, Jabari, woke up to the noise and ran to Kito. When he saw the bandits near his son, he shouted, "Hey, what are you doing here? Let my son alone!" Kito woke up when his father shouted and started crying in fear when he saw the 3 thugs standing in front of him. Makalo, the leader of the group, took out his sword and said, "Shut up, peasant. No one can tell me what to do," and killed Kito's father. When Kito saw his father lying on the ground, he went crazy and started screaming. His mother Amma and other villagers also woke up and ran towards the sound and tried to understand what had happened, but the bandits ran away. Amma see her husband dead and her son gone. She burst into tears. She cried to the dawn non-stop. Her family is totally destroyed in one night. The villagers gathered at dawn to find Kito. They looked all over the village and searched the surrounding villages, but the bandits had left no trace. Kito's life was now heading in a completely different direction. Before I continue with the story, I want you to subscribe to my channel if you want more videos like this. You can also be the first to know about my latest content by turning on bell notifications. With your support, I can improve my stories even more. Thanks for your support. Now back to the story. Kito traveled on the back of a horse, blindfolded and with his wings tightly bound. The three bandits rode through thorny roads and dense forests as they led him away from the village. At each stop, they showed Kito to curious merchants, hoping to get the highest bid by highlighting his rare talent. After several failed attempts, they decided to take him to a big bazaar. In a crowded, amid the noise of bargainers and shoppers, a man appeared. "How much do you want for this boy?" he asked, admiring Kito. With his wide-brimmed hat and colorful robes, he was known as Hamid. He traveled from town to town, buying goods in one place and selling them in another. Realizing the opportunity, Makalo contacted Hamid and boasted of the unique treasure he was offering. After some negotiations, they finally agreed on 2 bags of gold. Now Kito's new owner had big plans. They would showcase Kito's extraordinary talents in the most spectacular cities, and together they would become famous. Hamid's caravan arrived in Zalika. This was a vibrant and colorful city in the heart of Africa. It was famous for its bazaars, music, and lively streets. Hamid visited the places of entertainment for a few days. He watched the showgrounds and circuses. He saw that the shows were not being watched as much as they used to be. This was a great opportunity for Kito to showcase his unique talents. Even Darko, one of the most talked about circus owners, was struggling to attract audiences. Hamid had heard of Darko, but he had never seen him. Darko, once famous in the circus world, had become mean and secretive in Zalika. As things went from bad to worse, the evil in him came to the surface. He was harsh to his workers and the animals, making them work too much and punishing them for small mistakes. He wanted to control everything and didn't care if he hurt others to make his circus perfect. Darko's eyes lit up when he learned of Kito's existence. He had found what would restore his circus to its former fame. He was determined not to miss this opportunity. Darko spoke to several men to find out where Kito was and learned his whereabouts and immediately set out to find him. At that time, Hamid's plans were upset by a letter that arrived out of the blue. It said that a member of his family had fallen ill and he had to return home immediately. Hamid began to think about what to do. He had a long way to go, but he wasn't sure Kito would survive the journey. Darko wandered through the streets of Zalika and came to the inn where Hamid was staying. As sunset approached, he found him sitting on a bench outside the inn. Hamid was worried, thinking about the emergency in the letter and not knowing what to do. This was the perfect opportunity for Darko. He approached Hamid with a sly smile. "Nice evening, isn't it?" he began with a polite greeting. Darko noticed Hamid's worried look and continued talking. Darko made his thoughts clear. He wanted the child. Hamid was hesitant at first at the offer, but after Darko's persuasive speech, he had to make up his mind. In the end, he decided to give the child away. Kito was too young for a long journey. It was better for everyone, he thought. From that day on, Kito's days of suffering were just beginning. Darko began to teach him acrobatics, but his patience was short. If Kito made even the slightest mistake, he was punished mercilessly. Every acrobatic move was never enough in Darko's eyes. A misstep, the slightest mistake, paved the way for harsh punishments. Every morning, training began before sunrise and continued until sunset. In the evening, the circus performances would begin. If their performance did not meet Darko's expectations, he would punish Kito by starving him. Darko kept Kito under constant surveillance, yelling and insulting him at the slightest mistake. "Look at me, bonehead. I didn't bring you here just for your wings. If you can't impress the audience, you have no place in this circus." One day, Kito lost his balance and fell while trying to perform a difficult acrobatic move. This little accident in front of the audience ignited Darko's anger. After the show was over, he pulled Kito aside. "We are disgraced because of you," Darko shouted, his face red. "I see I've been good to you so far, but it's over. You'll pay for your spoiled behavior." The whip in Darko's hand whizzed through the air like a snake and landed on Kito's back. He moaned in pain but tried not to make a sound. Darko continued to whip him mercilessly. "Let this be a lesson to you," Darko said breathlessly. "Never make a mistake again. The only reason you are here is to make me rich. If you fail to please me, much worse awaits you." For 22 years, Kito's life was spent in Darko's circus. The young boy with wings, once marveled as a miracle, matured into a man within the confines of his captivity. Over the years, Kito became the main attraction of the circus and greatly enriched Darko. The once struggling circus master found his pockets overflowing with profits from Kito's unique charms. As Darko's fortune grew, he left the daily circus work and responsibility to his staff. Nevertheless, Kito's situation did not change. He continued to perform tirelessly for Darko's profit. As Kito got older, he started to see the world differently. At first, people were amazed by his ability to fly, but over time, he saw more of the bad parts of people. He saw people being greedy, mean, and wanting to be entertained no matter what it cost others. Every year, Kito did more complex tricks, flew higher, and made his dives more exciting. The circus became famous, and people from all over came to see the man who could fly. Kito didn't care about his fame. He had only one thing on his mind: freedom. Darko thought he could keep Kito forever, but there was one thing he forgot. Everything changes. And Kito was ready for that change.